You understand several ANC members in the Doctor WB Region in the Eastern Cape are heading to court. They're claiming irregularities in the preparation of the provincial conference. Senior reporter Aviwe Mtila joins me now. Aviwe, we do understand that there is some court action that could possibly be taking place due to irregularities. Tell us what you know.
Certainly, Heidi, we are in the Doctor WB Rubusana Region, the one that's hosting this conference here, and we understand that some 5 members of the region have taken this conference on an urgent basis to court. It is around the branches that were mentioned even earlier on, just some questionable branches that are being allowed to vote, but the indication inside was that they'd be allowed to vote and then those votes will be quarantined. But just to get more clarities, I am joined by one of those 5 people that have made the urgent court application. That is Ondela Sokomane. Ondela, thank you for joining us at eNCA, but what's this application about?
Well, the application is it seeks to enforce an existing interim court order. Remember, we went to court sometime last month seeking an urgent application, in fact, an interdict to bar the Doctor WB Rubusana Region from going to court. Regards to manipulation of BBGM processes and membership manipulation as well. The court, the office of the Treasurer General, who's the acting Secretary General, further wrote a letter before that order was granted to say that there indeed is membership manipulation in Dr. Rubusana, and therefore that must be dealt with. That membership manipulation implicates, as per the letter of the Secretary General, 22 branches. So we are of the view that those branches should not be allowed to participate in conference. So we're not interdicting or seeking to bar conference from continuing with its business. We are solely seeking to exclude the branches of Rubusana which are implicated in the membership manipulation. Because as far as we're concerned, the membership manipulation matters have not yet been resolved. So we sought to get a clarity and enforcement from court because we don't want to subject the interpretation of the interim order to politics and theatrics and politicking. So rather have the same court give us a clearer interpretation, but also enforce the current order. So we are of the view that if Rubusana branches that have membership manipulation participate in this conference, that will contaminate the credentials of conference. And if on the 31st of May there is an enforcement, or rather the court rules that indeed the branches which set their BGMs between February and March ought to be nullified in Rubusana, that will have a ripple effect on the outcomes of court. So we are trying to clean and ensure that court is not contaminated.
Okay, I just want to understand. I understand there are 40 branches of Rubusana that are inside and that will be voting here and allowed to vote, and the rest will be on quarantine given the outcome of the court. Are you saying that all the branches of Rubusana shouldn't partake in this conference? And in court, what are you saying with the urgent application? What do you want to happen here?
We're fundamentally saying that the branches of Rubusana which are implicated in membership manipulation, particularly those that set, and also including the branches which set between February and March, must not participate in conference because their matter is still subject to care. Because later in May, which is on the 31st of May to be particular, they might be nullified by court. And if they've participated here, the credentials of conference would have been contaminated. So we're not going to risk conference being contaminated by Rubusana issues. We'd rather remove Rubusana from the participation of conference. So it's twofold. One, it's the branches which have manipulation. But also you have an extended jurisdiction now which speaks about all the branches which set their BGMs between February and March. So it's the first fault is the manipulated branches. The second fault is the fact that our court application sought to nullify all branches that took place in February.
But the leadership here, it actually dealt with this issue, suggesting that these questionable branches will be allowed to vote, but their votes will be quarantined, and then given the outcome to see if there will be any bearing of the impact on the outcome, then it will be dealt with then. Don't you think this is a fair representation from the leadership here?
That's political rhetoric. That's political rhetoric, because also last night you had people of Rubusana in the early morning hours changing some delegates of some branches, and you had delegates from branches which were ordered to rerun their PGMs after the provincial conference, inside conference. So we are not going to risk it. We'd rather have the court as a final arbiter, removing Rubusana, so that we don't have to be bickering and arguing about Rubusana when the time for credential comes. So that is what we seek to enforce, because the matter of Rubusana is still a subject of court.
So the conference is happening this very moment. What happens going forward?
The conference is being opened. Credentials have not yet been adopted. So we are understanding that before credentials are adopted, the matter would have been dealt with by court, and court will give us a final answer in relation to the matter of Rubusana.
And if the votes happen and go ahead?
Well, we understand that there's national deployees which would be wise enough to advise conference not to go ahead with credentials without having clarified the issue of Rubusana. Remember, when you adopt credentials, you must adopt credentials on the basis of verified information. So you can't then want to quickly rush the adoption of credentials and voting whilst you know that there's a pending court matter. So the ANC knows now it's in court, and the issue of Rubusana must be dealt with before any credentials are adopted. For if it does not do that, then court will be, in fact, the conference will be thrown into the chaos of dealing with matters that are subject of court.
Okay, thank you very much. Ondela Sokomani is one of the 5 members of the Doctor WB Rubusana Region, which have taken this conference on an urgent basis to court. It is around bogus branches that they say that they don't want them to participate inside this conference here.
An interesting development there, Aviwe, and we'll definitely be tracking that. And as you can see, the breaking news on your screen at this moment, ANC members have gone to court over certain branch manipulation, membership branch manipulation that they claim is happening, and they want this to be addressed, as they do not want the Rubusana region to participate in this ANC Eastern Cape elective conference.